You are listening to a Raptors podcast, the place every week for all things Raptors. Get ready and never underestimate the heart of a champion. All right, and welcome back to a Raptors podcast. I have two games here to tell you and talk to you about, and I don't think anybody would be expecting to have come out of this week with two victories here on the bounce. The first one coming up against the Nets, the second one against the Hawks. Two teams that are in similar positions, so it's not too much of a surprise. But just for this team to be winning any games, I think is a bit of a surprise. But a welcome one at that. The Raptors, I'm going to be talking about the Hawks one first, beat the Hawks 123-121. It was a great performance from Scotty Barnes, and it was a good performance where he didn't have to enforce his will upon the game. He had 20 points, but 10 assists, and, only took 13 shots, same amount as Jakob Poeltl took in this one. Made all his free throws, and he was really a point guard, a distributor, and a distributor to a guy who usually is the distributor, Immanuel Quickley, who had 24 points in this one, 6 for 11 from the three-point line. A really breakout performance, as he's having continuously some great performances for the Raptors since joining us. And he's been pretty great and really great in this one. One of the main reasons why the Raptors take this one oh so close. And, as I'm talking about Scotty, he was... A great thing I love about this game is he did have the ball in his hand down the stretch. And you saw time and time again him making the right decision. Him finding an open Gary Trent for three. That was a really important bucket. And he's, also finding, cutters like Olynyk, who finished this one out. He had 10 points. Nwora started in this one, but didn't really finish. Bruce Brown with a good game. Agbaji with a really good performance. Basically took up the rest of Nwora's minutes as he wasn't really given anything. And Agbaji obliged 14 points plus 13 off the bench. 4 for 5, 5 for 6 from shooting. Really great performance, and those two are going to be competing for minutes, as I've said many, many times. And a player I thought would be competing for minutes for them, Grady Dick, with probably his best game as a pro. 18 points, 8 for 13 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3. Honestly, a pedestrian shooting night for him. But he was really, really good. He got into the paint, got some cuts, making the right decisions, and assist. Some hockey assists as well. And it was just a great all-around performance for this Raptors team, quickly draining threes from all over the court. Some tough layups in transition. He really started out quickly. It was between him, started out quickly, and as well DeJounte Murray going back and forth early on. And a player who usually goes off against the Raptors, Trae Young, didn't really do so, only 11 points. And pretty rough shooting splits, 7 assists as well, not really up to his normal scratch. And, this can be explained in multiple ways. I mean, Trae Young, first of all, he's going to have an off game once in a while. But as well, he gets a little shaken up towards the end of the second quarter. Quinn Snyder got ejected from the game because of it. Trae Young ended up getting back into the game and back to his normal self, but not to his normal self. And it was basically the difference in this one. Raptors now only 3 games behind the Hawks, only basically tied now with the Nets, who they beat just before this one in dominating fashion. And Raptors, 1 game away from a pizza party, which is something I don't think this team really was imagining they'd ever get to, a height they could never accomplish. But it's right on the horizon. It's going to take a win against Pascal Siakam and the Indiana Pacers to do so, but it's not so far outside of their capabilities. But we'll have to see how they do. It was just a really great game. Raptors went out and did what they had to do in Atlanta and really, shut the crowd up. And I will always take a game, a win, especially against a team like Atlanta, where, I'm not the biggest fan of Trae Young. And I have made that quite clear. My mother knows it. She actually is a fan of Trae Young. I don't know how she does it, how she enjoys that type of play, but she does. And we get a step up upon them and get the win, all this is important for season series as well. It's tied 2-2, so if it does go down to a tiebreaker with the Hawks sort of in that last play-in spot, who knows what will happen there. It's going to be point differential. And it's an important one to win, especially after just about a month ago losing by 1 point, to win here by 2. And it was a great game, and it was a fun one. And that's something that is really important to me, is having some nice, just fun games here. And we had obviously this one against the Hawks and a fun one against the Nets before this. And it just brings, it makes you realize why you fell in love with the sport and why you fell in love with this team and these players, and just what really is on the horizon for this Raptors team. Obviously, we're still a couple steps away from that horizon, but it's a possibility, and you can see some building blocks for the Raptors here on the future that they can really look forward to. But like I said, it's still quite far away. But you can dream and you can hope, and you're just happy you're not in the same spot that the Hawks are currently in, where they've given up some first-round picks for a guy like DeJounte, and they're in the exact same spots the Raptors are at right now, who got first-round picks for their guys instead of giving them up. And that's, something that's really important when you're rebuilding, is to decide to rebuild. And I think they've done so at the right time, maybe a bit too late, arguably, but it's good enough, and I'm happy with the direction that my team is going, and I'm happy with Masai. Pascal Siakam's trade, people are saying on Twitter, not really a great one for the Raptors value-wise, but, it's going to happen, right? And that's how it did go. Moving on to the first game, coming back from the All-Star break, this one against the Nets, the Raptors eviscerated them, not even close. Bridges had a good game, and Cam Thomas had a decent game. Everybody else had a stinker for the Nets. Nets throwing basically anything at the wall to see if it would stick. Not much did. I guess you would say Deron Sharp was their best guy. Their third best player, only 9 points, 5 boards. Tough one, and it was the game Schroeder coming back to play the Raptors after getting traded, and he responds with 4 points, 1 3-point field goal, 1 free throw. That's it, a minus 30 on the game for Dennis. And, it wasn't really the dream scenario I think he would have liked to have had, and it hasn't really worked well for a lot of these older point guards. You look back to Goran Dragic coming to the Raptors to try to salvage a career, get something going, and he and Schroeder didn't really have what it took to thrive here in Toronto, but who knows? I think, that trade's still a little confusing, but we got off of his salary for the future, and the Nets are going to be on the hook for that one in the future. And on the Raptors side, it was a breakout comeback, remember me type game for Gary Trent Jr. 25 points, really efficient stuff. Finally playing well in the starting lineup, Gary Trent Jr. was. The starters with all of them above 15 plus minus. Scotty Barnes actually the lowest, everybody else above 25. Quickly Barrett, Gary Podol, all over that mark. Scotty Barnes 18 points, only 13 field goals. Again, he's sort of letting other players do well, and it's left us with 2 wins here on the bounce. RJ Barrett, not really a good one for him. He didn't play actually against the Hawks, but it did not matter anyway. Gary Trent Jr. picking up some slack where that was. And at this point in the season, I'm not really going to throw a fit for the fact that we didn't move on from Gary or Podol. I know some people are pretty upset we didn't get anything back for Bruce Brown after he had a good game against the Hawks. Against the Nets, not so much-o, but, I think at the end of the day, a guy like Bruce Brown I would like to have on the team. He gives us good minutes. I'm sure you'd like to see him be a better shooter, especially to fit in Darko's scheme here, but I'm not going to be upset with whatever he gives me. And he's relatively young, and he fits sort of this timeline for the Raptors. And so, if we can re-sign him for a cheaper contract than he's currently earning, which I think we can do, he's going to command a lower salary, sort of lost the development wow factor to his whole portfolio, really. And I think we can get a good deal and a good deal done and get him back here in Toronto, at least, so we can trade him and get something for him. Podol as well, sort of similar thought process, a little bit older than Bruce Brown, and doesn't really fit the scheme. Fits the scheme even less than Brown does, but he provides something that nobody else on the Raptors team can really give you, and it's great rim protection and strength and setting screens. Scotty can do some of that, but not nearly at a high enough level for NBA starting center quality. And Scotty can do so much more than that. It's really, it would be a insult to ask him to do that. So you see Podol, and I don't think he's the future, for this spot in the Raptors. And we have picks is one thing we do have now to find that future. But he's a nice stopgap. A lot better of a stopgap than Aaron Baines or an Alex Len supposed to be. And so you'll take what you can get, and there's definitely worse stopgaps you could be having. Kelly Olynyk is sort of the style you would like to see, but Kelly's way too old to really fit that role, and he's a good bench big for this Raptors team, and a fan favorite as well as he continues to develop into that role as a Canadian. Grady Dick, 7 points in this Nets game, not really anything to write home about. Boucher finally getting some minutes after basically being out of the rotation for a while now. He gets 4 minutes against the Nets. Against the Hawks, didn't even play, and I think his time in Toronto is coming to an end, and the last player of that championship team will be gone soon, and we're really going to have to look ourselves in the mirror and realize we have to stop talking about it, because it's been 5 years now. It's coming on more, and at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be a conversation we need to talk about every single day. And as much as I love it, we have to move on, and we have to see the brighter future ahead of us. A future that will include some of these players like Scotty Barnes, maybe Gary, RJ quickly, obviously maybe Bruce Brown, Noor Akbaji, Grady Dick, and all of these picks that we've accumulated. And you can see a team that is going to be exciting and give us some joy to talk about back in the North. And I'm excited for it. Something I'm going to be talking about for quite a bit. But I'm just happy to win, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. RJ, you're going to say he only had 12 points in this one. Shot good from 3, so you'll take that for sure. Also 7 assists, which is something you haven't seen. Led the team in that category for the Raptors. Sort of a role reversal for him and quickly. Raptors, according to ESPN, had 3 shooting guards, a small forward and a center today in the starting lineup. Pretty interesting stuff. For comparison, the Nets had an entire starting 5 of their positions, so it's pretty funny to see just how weird the Raptors can really get from that perspective. But you'll take it all the same, and the Nets really just didn't really give anything in this one, and the Raptors were able to capitalize. And Jalen McDaniels was able to get some time. DJ Cartone getting his first bucket, a field goal, hits a free throw as well. Good for him. People on Twitter all over, super happy for the guy, and why wouldn't you be? That's sort of just a dream scenario coming into the NBA. Plays 4 minutes, 10-day contract, and gets a bucket for his team. And also, 2 personal fouls. He got a defensive rebound, and it's something you can talk about for the rest of your life. And just to be able to wear a jersey in the NBA is just something not many people get to experience, and it's a dream for a lot more than just that amount of people. And it's quite special. So, never take it or anything for granted in that sort of vein. But it's, a great week for the Raptors. Upcoming schedule is what I'm going to have for you guys next. Just a little bit of a shorter episode as only 2 games, but next week the games will be back thick and fast. So I'll see what we're going to up against next week, and then I'll talk about what's going on around the league and have you guys on your way. So I'll be back in a sec. Alright, so upcoming, I've got 3 games for you before I go back on the break. It's at Indiana with tickets as low as $4 on NBA TV. Then Dallas versus Golden State, both at Scotiabank Arena. It's a week full of good teams, above 500 teams, as the Golden State Warriors finally get themselves going. And it brings us all the way into March already. How this season has flown by, and it just doesn't seem to end. It's going to end pretty quick here now. Indiana, if the Raptors can win, they get themselves their pizza party they've been looking for. They've had a couple of back-to-back wins, and they can really finally get it going. That'll be their, let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. It'll be their 5th chance to get the pizza party. Maybe this time they'll have a little bit of a fight to them as they're playing Siakam once again, but who knows if they ever get a chance once again to even get a pizza party like this. And with their millions of dollars, I'm sure they couldn't afford it. So it's really, really important for them and important for the team to get this win upcoming on Monday. And then Dallas and Golden State, 2 teams in the West that are pretty good, and it'll be fun. Some stars there. Obviously Curry just raising the ticket prices incredibly, and then Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving for the Dallas Mavericks. Both, all very fun games upcoming. And so it'll be a joy to watch them. And maybe, just maybe, some more wins on the way. But now I'm going to talk about the landscape all across the NBA and then have you guys on your way. So I'll be back in a second once again. All right, and I am back here to talk about the landscape. Boston, once again, as the best of the East by an insane margin, and they continue to separate themselves. Second place, the Cleveland Cavaliers, and people are talking about this Boston team, and I think they're really serious here when they're saying this could be a championship team and one of the most dominant teams in a conference since the Warriors and the Cavaliers, and they just have shown time and time again, especially at home, but even away, only 1 loss on the division, of a pretty interesting reflection of the Raptors, only 1 win in their division coming against the Nets. And they're just being really dominant all year, and it's probably looking like it's going to accumulate into at least a finals appearance for them, and then some tough West opponents. Some teams looking to stop that, though. The Cavaliers, Bucks, Knicks, 76ers, and Magic, all the rest of the playoff teams currently. Magic going on a bit of a run right now. Cavs as well, although they have dropped their last 2. The Bucks, Knicks, and 76ers all 4-6 in their last 10. Not exactly what you would like to see. All teams barely above 500. And an interesting stat here for you is the 8th seed in the Western Conference, the Phoenix Suns, 7 games back of the Minnesota Timberwolves, are closer to first place in the West than the 2nd seed Cleveland Cavaliers are to the Boston Celtics. That just shows you not only how weak the East really is, but how good the Celtics are as well. As they just continue to walk that conference. And, it's going to be interesting to see who can really put up the best fight against them come playoff time. And some teams in the play-in tournament trying to get into those playoffs is the Pacers, the Heat, 2 teams that are respectable, both, on win streaks right now, 2 and 3. And then the worst teams that really should have done something at the deadline but didn't, the Bulls and the Hawks, 5-5 in their last 10. They're treading water, trying to stay above water so they can stay alive, but it's really not looking good, and I wouldn't bet on any of these teams to make the playoffs. And then below, the teams that did make some moves maybe a little bit, but not exactly what you like to see. Raptors, Nets, Raptors, I think, should have made more deals. Nets as well. Nets lost 4 in a row here. They are now 2-8 in their last 10. The Raptors just a half a game behind the Nets as they close in on the Nets and those play-in spots as well. The Hornets, Wizards, and Pistons, as always, round out the bottom 3 in the East. Wizards now on a 10-game losing streak. The Pistons have almost caught up to them in the standings. Pretty crazy stuff here at the bottom of the Eastern Conference. Now on to the Western Conference. Here in the Western Conference, as I said earlier, the Timberwolves in first, half a game behind them is the Thunder, the Clippers, 2 games behind first, as well as the Nuggets, and then it's a bit of space between the next teams. Those 4 teams have been so dominant this year, and they continue to increase their lead, increase their performances, and this Western Conference is going to be crazy come playoff time. Behind those teams is the Pelicans, the Mavericks, who the Raptors will play, Kings, Suns, all these teams so talented and just looking for something. Mavericks won their last 7. All teams above 500 here in the play-in tournament for the Western Conference. The Warriors 3 games above it in 10th, and as well the Lakers half a game ahead of them, who have been on a winning streak. 8-2 for the Warriors. Lakers 7-3 in their last 10. Some really great stuff. This is going to be super entertaining. The exact opposite as what you would consider for the East. And I can see any of those top 4 teams going on to the finals. And you could even imagine the Pelicans making a run, Mavericks, Kings, Suns making a run, Lakers, I don't know, not so much. Oh, maybe, who knows? Warriors, similar sort of story, and it's just 10 teams with everything to play for, and most of the talent in the league on that side of the border. It's just really exciting, and I am excited. I cannot wait to see what is in store for us. And then teams that are missing out, there's no real chance of them making the play-in or any meaningful basketball. The Utah Jazz, who have lost their last 5. The Rockets as well, who have fallen from their Icarus-type flying high. They've fallen now. Grizzlies, Blazers, Spurs, now at the bottom of the West. It's getting close to playoff time, and it's going to be a whole lot of fun to see where all these teams shake out in the Western and Eastern Conference, and then as well in the playoffs. So hold on to your hats. I cannot wait. But that's going to be it for the Raptors podcast. Thank you for listening as always. Follow me on Twitter. Do what you want to do. But, enjoy yourself. Some wins. That's something we haven't really been able to say for a while now. And, I'm just happy to be able to continue to bring this podcast to you guys. So thanks for listening as always, like I said. And enjoy it. It's been a great week. So thanks.